details. It's good to see that the nature of the center has not changed, at least certainly since I first came here in December of 1988. And that is, I started noticing that this is a group that causes this center to be filled sometimes and almost empty sometimes. And what's the connection with that? Well, we're made up of a group of people who are active, alive, alert, enthusiastic. We're Seventh-day recreationalists. As it should be in my mind, because I was one of those folks out there too. Was. Yeah, not was, is. So last week I started this short series, and that was the power of good. The power of good is a requirement before you can have a power for good. And so I talked about that first, and essentially the system within which we all live, move, and have our being. It was the purpose Dr. Ernest Holmes wrote his material about and for, and it was Dr. Holmes' creation that he took from a Hindu Rama to create the symbol. He took those words and he turned it into this symbol as a teaching symbol for how all this works. So we all live in this system. It's whole, perfect, complete, everywhere present, all the time, as is. Everything, as is whole, perfect, and complete. Never isn't. Oh, that means we are too. I am, you am, all am. So the way this system works, this is spirit or origin. This is the filter, the law, which is key to metaphysics in general. And down here at the bottom, the point of the V is all form, the world of form. It's our thoughts and conclusions. It's our experiences in life. It's the three-dimensional box in which we live. And we make up the contents of that box. We live from that box because those are the decisions we have made about life, ourselves, our relationship with all of it, and everything else. Now, were all of you born in the same household? I'm so glad to hear it, because we cannot have harmony without at least two or more notes. We can't. So there has to be individuality here. There has to be distinction. And the more you let you out, the more God we find present in the room, the more God we find available on the planet. I like that idea. And it's crazy making sometimes. That's the way it is. So there's a arc that comes down into this point and back out into another arc. So these circles are side by side through time. And wherever the first one was, I have no idea. Somebody thought it started and was captured in the book of Genesis. I think it preceded. So whatever that was, from the origin of time, it started showing up in the world of form. And it came in and it came through the filter and was shaped into a particular event, experience, whatever. And then it bounces back up, depositing conclusions we have made here in the law for the next visit as it comes down through that law. And all of those thoughts ever thunk, all the beliefs ever held, every conclusion every human has ever concluded throughout time lives in this filter. All of the options of creation, of the forms we experience in our life, all of those options live in this filter, in the law. We get to decide which of those options we pick to have manifest in our experience and in our expression. We pick that, nobody else. Well, we can let other people pick it for us, but we end up agreeing with it. So it's really our picking. Because ultimately, we become what we listen to. Are you listening? Are you paying attention to what you're paying attention to? Do you notice what you notice? Every day, all day long, every moment, everywhere, every when. Now, this really cool thing happens. Some people call it the universe abhors a vacuum. I call it emptiness backfills with what was before. So there's a mold that will express a particular outcome, event, decision, or conclusion. There's a mold held in this law, and if it's not changed, it will repeat and repeat and repeat. That's our default conditioning. Now, I have a pretty good idea we all have gone through some conditioning in our life. Okay? Don Miguel Ruiz called it domestication. Are you domesticated? I really didn't obey too good. And so I always liked to try something different, to find out what my options were, because I never believed, and I don't know when that started, but I can never remember believing that everything everybody told me was so was so. I had to question it. I had to challenge it. I had to find out for myself. So through this huge amount of trial and error and learning things the hard way, which was my way, I claim it, learning things the hard way, then I can change what I choose to experience. Every single moment, I can change what I choose to experience. If I don't like it, I can change it. But that's up to me to change my experience. Now, actually, it's probably kind of up to Jan, but you know the rule, take credit, place blame. So the things that don't work in your life are a function of conditioning, not you. Your conditioning is what tends to drive what you express, what you experience. It tends to. It doesn't mean it's the only thing that drives what you experience and express. That's key. Because conscious choice trumps history, it trumps social trend, it trumps any previous experience. Holmes said, there is no... Come on, Prax. There's no about principle. What's that?
No principle without precedent?
Nope.
Precedent?
No precedent. So principle has no precedent. We establish the precedent for our experience based on whatever we have decided previously. If I agree upon what Rick says, then that will be my precedent for the next moment, the next experience. If I disagree with what Rick says, I might have a different experience. However, there's a trick to this. I have to be persistent in my change of mind. It doesn't come easy sometimes. Our training sometimes is buried deep within us. It's that automatic response. So when Jan and I first got together, she had been married 120 years or something like that. I have myself had a lot of practice. So with change and evolution and my own evolution, and never thought I had to be stuck in anything I had done and been before. So we got together, and she kept thinking I was going to do what she previously had experienced. And something that it became a standard mantra between us. She would look at me, she would respond to, she would typically react to something I said or did or whatever, and I would say, I'm not that guy. I'm not that guy. How long did it take for you to hear that? Long time. So it's been 8 years, she finally got it, for which I'm grateful. It makes life a lot easier for both of us. So how did things get the way they are? So there was this very religious man. He spent a lot of time praying, and he went to church every Sunday, and he trained his kids to believe the same way he did, and he lived next door to a full-blood, absolute atheist. Okay? And he watched this atheist, and he lived his own life, and he prayed to God, and he kept taking his confessions to God, and he spent all this time in prayer, and his life sucked. He had a horrible job, paid was terrible. His wife kept getting uglier, and his children didn't even talk to him. It was bad, really bad for him. So another time he got down on his knees and he's praying to his Lord, and he says, "Give me a hint, God. Here I am absolutely dutiful to you. I sing your praises all the time. I have brought so many people to you, and they have joined and agreed with our teachings and what have you, and saved their souls. And yet this guy next to me, this atheist, he doesn't even probably believe in you, and he most likely has never prayed in his life. And here he has a great job, he lives abundantly, his wife is beautiful, his kids and his wife and he get together all the time and laugh and play. His life is so good. How come, with all of my praise of you and my praying to you, how come my life's not like that? How come my life's not that good?" And this deep, booming voice comes from the heavens, and it says, "He doesn't bother me all the time." See, that's one of the great examples to me, with a little giggle, how things got to be the way they are. And how things got to be the way they are is what he was trained to do, and how he was devoted to living out that training, because he knew that was his answer to salvation. That's fabulous this way. That's how it works. Dr. Ernest Holmes, in his book, The Science of Mind, wrote the first 4 chapters, the thing itself, how it works, what it does, and how to use it. Today, I'm going to be focusing shortly on the 4th chapter, the how to use it. What do we do about that? You know, how life got to be the way it is one thing, but what do we do about that is why I kept consistent with this philosophy, this teaching. The thing itself is God, Spirit, the infinite, divine creator, whatever term or label, Baha'u'llah, Rama, Brahma, I don't care what name you give it, in our point of view, the name you give it limits God, limits that, because of our notions and beliefs about that word and about that entity, that divine power. Let go of that. When I first found myself in ministerial school, to my utter surprise and initial dismay, I realized a month before I graduated from school and was going to become licensed as a Science of Mind minister, I couldn't say the G word without stumbling through it. It was God, because of the training that I had had shoved down my throat as a kid. So the last month, every time I'd go to be going to class, I would practice in the car saying the G word. And after a while of practicing saying it, you can even get up to saying the 5-syllable God, and it doesn't choke you. So I decided to do desensitization about that word so that I could say it normally, because ministers are supposed to be able to say God like pablum, piece of cake. And yet that core of me that was exposed to that such limited God before couldn't allow that limitation anymore. I needed to expand my perception of it, because if it's infinite, how can I ever get my mind around that? How I do good to get my mind around my own interpretation of that. And so what if I decide that how it works is constantly, consistently under the law that is part of the system itself? And what it does is it demonstrates through my belief. If I want to affect my experience, I have to affect my belief. Now, fortunately, each of us has the opportunity to embrace our own beliefs. I like to joke about, say, I believe. Well, actually, you can just interpret that to what's true is some people actually believe their beliefs. I do my best not to, because I want to challenge everything I think. Are you thinking or thoughting? Thoughting is the norm. Something like a ridiculous shoot a goose out of the sky estimate of 80% of the world population just thoughts. They don't actually think. To actually think is hard work. I had a Baptist minister one time tell me I was leading all of you to Satan. I said, do you know anything about the science of mind? Oh, yeah. Really? I would dare say you know nothing about the science of mind. The reason I say that is because to change our mind on an ongoing basis, to challenge our thoughts on an ongoing basis, that's the hardest thing I can even think of. Harder than I can imagine. So if you challenge your thinking, if you challenge your thoughts and your thoughting, you will begin to think consciously more often. And since conscious decisions, conscious choices trump everything else for our own personal experience, does that sound like a good idea? You know, because I say it, it must be true. But I even challenge that. And I really recommend you do too. Question everything. So there's a cute little sign Linda has in her condo. It says, question everything, and below it says, why? Science of Mind teaches spiritual practices. There are only two. Of course, there's a multitude of ways to do both, but those two spiritual practices are meditation. The other spiritual practice is affirmations. Meditation is the key to gaining perspective and increasing that perspective so you see how things got to be the way they are in your life and what you can do about them. So as you meditate, you go into this deep state that gives you a bigger point of view. And continue with your meditation, that point of view gets bigger and bigger. And then you come out of the meditation back into this just very finite world, and you can see, well, that's interesting. What do I like about this? What don't I like about this? If you like it, keep it up. If you don't like it, change it. There is no thing in my belief and my experience that we cannot change in our own personal lives. No thing. And there is no thing within our collective minds that cannot be changed either. Everything is up for grabs, people. So are you living the life you want to live or not? If you are, keep affirming it. If you're not, change your affirmation. Dr. Holmes wrote, life works by direct affirmation. Now, I had to come up and create a new word. Affirmation is great. The word itself, to affirm, means to state positively. It does not mean to positively state. So an affirmation is not just a positive statement. I'm alive, alert, enthusiastic. That's an affirmation. So the other is, I can never make it. I'm worthless. I'm useless. Nobody loves me. Everybody hates me. I'm going to go eat a worm. You know, I call those deformations because they deform our original state, our original nature. I recommend more affirmations and fewer deformations, but both express equally in potential in each of our lives. Think about what you're living. Now, there's a cost in changing our belief. I love this. Every man must pay the price for that which he receives, and that price is paid in mental and spiritual coin. We all must pay a price, mentally and spiritually, for that which we are to receive. If you want to change your mind, there's a cost. You have to spend the time. You have to dedicate yourself to this new way of thinking, this new way of living, and realize that your actions will betray your real point of view. Your actions will betray your true beliefs. Have you ever wanted to believe something and just couldn't quite get there? I wish it were so. That's what that's called, wishing. Your true belief is what manifests in your life and experience. Persistence. Successful farmers and sailors always work during their, quote, off times. Changing our minds, there are no off times either. Changing our minds is an ongoing, deliberate process. So this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. And frankly, if it was, you wouldn't believe it. And you shouldn't. So when it comes down to where the pedal meets the metal, rubber meets the road, whatever analogy you want to use, when it comes down to it, and you find yourself defaulting back to that which you know, that which you're familiar with, not that which is safe, not that which is helpful, but that which you know and familiar with, what you have lived up to this point in time, and you find yourself challenged with this new way of thinking because people are looking at you weird. You know, you're changing. What's wrong with you? You're changing. So they can't count on you being the same person you used to be. That's a real threat to the pigeonhole you've been living in and living from. Page 283.3, the third paragraph on page 283 in The Science of Mind. All bold letters. All caps. To desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that you do not know the truth. To desert the truth in the hour of need is to prove that you do not know the truth. That's the hard truth, people. So go back and start again. No fault, no foul. You got good feedback. You found out you had defaulted back to your old way of thinking. Keep rethinking. Keep thinking. So, in closing, ultimately, we are what we listen to, what we attend to in our lives, and we can change that. So, question, are you living the life you want to live? Are you living the life you want to live? Are you experiencing the life you want to live? If yes, great, keep it up. If no, change it. Bless you. Okay, it's time for us to pray together. We do that. We're not begging, beseeching, pleading. We affirm a higher truth, a higher reality, a higher experience for each of ourselves. And we do that as I pray. I will use first person. As you pray, you will use first person because you're praying for your own awareness, your own consciousness. We call it treatment. We treat our minds for a better outcome. So this is the soft way of changing your mind. The moment-to-moment affirmations are the more rigorous way of changing our minds, but both work. Allow yourselves to translate the words I use into your own words so that these words become your thoughts, your ideas. And join with me as we go into that place, that state called the divine. I recognize the divine power, presence, and intelligence that surrounds everyone, everything, certainly surrounds me since I'm part of that everyone and everything. It operates through me, as me, and I know this truth as the truth for everyone. That infinite power, that infinite intelligence, that infinite presence operates through me, as me, and I choose what I want to experience. I choose now the wholeness of life. I choose now oneness, recognizing that there never has been any separation, that in that oneness, that huge one life, exists everyone. And so connection is natural, it's automatic. Each individual is singing their note that blends into an infinite harmony with everyone else. So that makes me smile. And I think about that and hold that within myself, and so my heart sings too. I also know perfect health and well-being, ease and peace of mind, everywhere, every when. An abundance of all good. All good, no exception. Abundant love, abundant vitality, abundant money, abundant love again. So letting this settle into me, this realization, this revelation of the greater life, I fill with gratitude. And I let that gratitude confirm the affirmation of life itself. I confirm the wholeness. So relaxing into it, letting it be. I claim this as so, and we affirm it together by saying, and so it is.